G'day fellas. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the United States Revolution. The United States Revolution is a little bit more of an all-in revolution as opposed to something like South Africa, which is a bit more focused on the late game. Now, before we do get into the video, I am currently live over on Twitch. However, we're going to be mixing it up a little bit. I'm going to be casting a series from the ESOC Challenge Cup, and we're also going to be streaming live the new podcast that I'm doing in conjunction with the ESO community. Then after that, we'll be heading over to the ranked ladder to grind out some games. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I'll leave a link in the description to the Twitch stream. Come on over, say g'day, and we'll see you there. Now let's take a look at the United States. Alright, so before we get into it, I think it's just important I sort of go over the United States and what it is and the kind of strategy that we're going to be going for. So the first thing is that with the United States, as soon as you hit that revolution button, you're going to receive a fort wagon. So you're going to be able to put down a fort with that fort wagon. And in addition to that, you get Gatling guns, which have 25% more hit points, and all forts now spawn one for free. So there's the first bonus and synergy that we're looking for. It's forts. With receiving a single Gatling gun for free off every fort that you've got already that's existing, the more forts that we can have in the first place, the better. So we're going to be looking at sending as many forts as we can before we hit the revolution button. And Sweden has a lot of synergy with that because not only do they get the Age 3 fort as well as the standard Age 4 fort, they also get the Kalmar Castle, which not only provides them an additional fort, it also gives any of your forts an experience bounty aura. So any enemy units that you kill in the area of your fort, you're going to be getting increased levels of experience. So in addition to that, you're going to want to be having 3 TCs because having 3 TCs is going to allow you to call 3 separate batches of Minutemen, and with the United States, they get a card from their home city, which upgrades their Minutemen so that they no longer lose any health. So what's our game plan here? What's our goal? So obviously our final game plan is that we're going to be reaching the United States Revolution and that we're going to be able to steamroll our opponent just because we're going to be having superior artillery, superior military, and just overwhelming numbers. That should generally be the idea. But how are we going to get there? So with Sweden, we're going to start by putting pressure on the enemy in the early game to try and get ahead. So we're going to be using hussars as tools that we can raid and try and keep the enemy villager count down. At the same time, we're going to be sending ironworks as well as blueberries just to make sure that our economy is as good as it can be because we want to exploit Sweden as much as we can and the mechanics that we have as a civilization. Once we've reached the fortress age, we want to begin building our infrastructure, including putting up our 3 TCs as well as shipping our forts from our home city. Another key to maximizing our economy is getting the card Blackberries shipped in. From there, we want to age up to the 4th age, ship our last fort, and then begin to attack the enemy. Whether we wait for factories or not will depend on how we're feeling, really, because you need to keep in mind, even though you don't really want to revolt without not sending your factories, that when you wait for your factories, you're buying your opponent time because they're going to know that you've reached the 4th age, and you're probably going to be having some form of heavy cannon, so they're going to be able to respond with culverins a lot more efficiently. So what does the build order for this strategy look like? Well, you're going to be opening up with 3 villages and then moving into dominions, which is going to give you those 4 torp wagons once you reach the 2nd age. After that, you're going to send ironworks from the home city and then blueberries. You're going to want to put your first 2 or 3 torps on the wood line, and then any subsequent torps, you're going to want to be putting them around coin mines. Because we're sending ironworks from the home city, it's important we try and maximize the efficiency of that card, so we need to make sure that we stick them on as many coin mines as possible. Once we reach the 3rd age, we're going to be sending a fort, then blackberries, and then we're going to follow up with a 2nd fort. We're going to use the defensive cover that the fort provides to allow us to get up to the 4th age. We're going to age up with a fort wagon, and then once we reach the 4th age, we're going to ship another fort from the home city, allowing us to reach a total of 4 forts. Now, in this game, I was playing on my Smurf account, and unfortunately, despite it being a perfect game, I assigned the incorrect hotkeys to the keys on my mouse, and as a result, it meant that I got a little bit confused with my select all button and my delete button. Normally, I use these 2 buttons so that when I'm building walls, I can delete the pillars almost effortlessly, but the problem is, if you accidentally mix these up, it can mean that if you try and delete something, you might accidentally select everything first, and in this situation, that's exactly what's happened. So unfortunately, because of the perfect timing of the enemy hussars, it's meant that I've just pretty much got to concede this game because I've deleted all my forts. So look, it doesn't always go perfect, but let's talk about some of the times when it does. Okay, maybe perfect isn't the right word. The mortars were definitely an issue in this game, especially it was only 14 minutes into the game. I thought it was a little bit early, Nikolai, so maybe not go so hard on the mortars next time, mate. Thanks. And maybe perfect isn't the best way to describe this game either. This was one that we had live on stream, and I realized that then my fort was just going to be dying to hand mortars. And so you're in one of those situations where if your fort dies, well, you're just down a fort, aren't you? And it's very expensive, so you've got to be very careful with them. And so eventually we did actually revolt in this game. It was one that we did live on stream. It was a bit of fun, but the player that we're playing against is quite good, unfortunately. And so it meant they knew exactly what they needed to do. They massed up their army. They were very well prepared. They had lots of anti-artillery, but we still had quite a big army, quite a large population, and a huge amount of Minutemen. So you can see that the Minutemen here are not losing any of their HP. Minutemen are incredible. They're like veteran musketeers with a bonus against artillery. So really, really strong. But the main issue that you've got when you do a strategy like this, even when it doesn't turn out perfect, or even when it does get close to perfect, is that your opponent just has to hold on. They just have to really go all in themselves and just prevent you from killing them in that moment, because our economy, even though we've got those torps up, has just completely slowed to a crawl. We've got forts behind this, but our forts really aren't achieving much. We've also got some of the special unique units, which are the volunteers. These volunteers are incredibly long range, so they've got a massive range on them, but the rate of fire that they've got is very low. So these units are incredible. These are like forest prowlers on steroids. They're just really something else. I absolutely love them. I hope that we get to see more of these. I'd love to see these, in some sort of modded civilization which actually uses them as their primary infantry. But you'd really want to hope they're expensive, because they're such a good unit, such high range. They're probably more like a Cassador, I guess, because they've got high HP as well. I don't know. They're like a perfect unit. 5 movement speed, heaps of range resist, lots of range on them. They're just, I just want them. Just give me more volunteers, please. But unfortunately, we do lose out in this game as well. I just determined that obviously we don't have the economy that our opponents got. We've just given up all of our villages, even though we've got those torps. We're just not able to do it. And so here I'm building more units from the home city. These cost 100 food each, but it's just not going to be enough. So we throw in the towel on that one. And then we tried it out again. I don't know if perfect is the right word for here, but this one is looking a lot better. Our unit population's much higher. We're pushing in. We've got plenty of Gatling guns, but there's the enemy Culverin. And as soon as you see Culverin, and you don't have Culverin, you just know it's not going to be a fun fight. But nonetheless, we say, you know what? We got so many bloody units. Let's try and push in. We'll see what we can do. As long as we take out those Culverin, but then we just realize, look how many he's got. He's got 5 Culves. We see the 2 factories that are sitting down there as well, so we know that there's going to be heavy cannons on the way as well. And we're really just like, I'm trying to get behind the town center, but at the same time we've got the veteran hussars that he's got that are moving back onto our Gatling guns. But he's a smart player. He knows that he's going to be taking out our artillery with his Culves, and that's exactly what he's doing, is just keeping the Culverin alive, because the Culverin are really the key here. As long as he doesn't lose his Culves, he's going to be okay, because if we're allowed to maintain a mass, then that's going to be very problematic for him, and that's why I'm even shipping more Gatling guns from the home city right now. But now our heavy cannons are rolling in. I'm making a bit of a mistake here. I think that I think I fall into the incorrect thought that I've actually overwhelmed him. But the main issue that I've got is that he's going to have reinforcements. Look how slow our resources are trickling in, because we don't have any villages. We've got torps. That's literally it. So everything that we've got right now is just from our torps. And meanwhile, he's got resources coming in. He's got his Highlanders. All of his villages are still gathering. He's got the 2 factories. Now, obviously, we've got 2 factories as well, but he's got Defender's Advantage. So there we see there's the first heavy cannon coming out now. So in this game, I did, in fact, decide to send my factories before I revolted. So it was a little bit more of a late revolt rather than an early revolt, which is typically what you would want to go for. But I thought, you know what, we're in a relatively good position. We've got a lot of shipments that we can send, so we might as well just do it. And then once we reach, the American Revolution, from there we can go. So, and then with this, we do finally push in. We've lost all of our infantry. We are building more, but we don't really have a lot. But we've got Gatling guns and we've got heavy cannons, and so I push in, and then I see that he's still got 1 Culve left. I really wasn't expecting this 1 Culve, and the 1 Culve is really what saves the day. You can just see him microing it, pushing back, and it's going to be very difficult for me to get inside there, and he continues to just to take out my artillery one by one, and then it gets off another shot again. So Culverin's just doing work. They really are the unsung heroes of the Definitive Edition. I do love them when they actually work. And so at this point, I decide that I'm just going to have to quit it out. And that is the final game. Or is it? Maybe I have one more for you. Maybe I have one where America actually led us to victory. Come on, the United States, you can do it. All right, John, it looks like we're heading into a top 10 situation. We've got Ozzy Drongo down here in the corner. He's up against the Indians. Let's take a look. Hot and live. Here we go. Up against Bitgold. We can see Drongo set himself up in the corner. He's got 3 forts that are up right now. He's got the factory in behind. We've got the town centers that he's putting up, and the enemy is complaining about the towers. Indeed, there are a lot of towers on this map, John. What are your thoughts on this? Look, John, I don't know exactly what it is that you said, but I've got to definitely agree with you and agree with the enemy. No fun at all. And it looks like Drongo's pulled out the victory. We didn't see the revolt coming out from Drongo, but it does look like he did indeed get the victory with the strategy. So are we going to call that a success for Drongo? I think we are. All right, Drongo, back to you. Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much. Well, look, guys, we did try out the American Revolution strategy. Unfortunately, it wasn't as successful as I would have liked it to have been, but it was a lot of fun, at least trying to get it to work. And once we got there, you know, giving the enemy a bit of a pounding, even if it was only for 60 seconds. But hey, that's all she needs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you very much to my lovely patrons over on Patreon. Big thank you going out to Nathan Holden, Esty Pesty, and Ping Cha. Thank you very much, fellas. And if you're interested about learning more about this strategy, I'll leave a link down in the description to No Idle TC, which is exactly where I found this strategy. So head on over there, give them some love, and I'll see you guys in the next one.